Well, I would say that these were two episodes of the show that were quite different to the others that we'd seen throughout the season so far, and I'd also say that they were both drastically different to each other as well. With one focused more specifically on the Sentinel and Mr. Whiteley, and the other episode, episode 8, being more focused on each individual character and how the mystery disease that was spreading was impacting them. They were quite different, so with that I thought I'd recap, break down, and explain all that there was to take away from these two episodes. So let's get into it. Here is American Horror Story New York City Season 11, Episode 7 and 8, Ending Explained. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. The two episodes this week saw us put the Mai Tai killer story arc to bed, but also allowed us to find out Mr. Whiteley's motives and intentions behind why he was doing what he was doing. He was creating this sinister sentinel due to wanting to have a beacon of hope for the community that he was a part of, representing, and felt were neglected by the authorities, government, and also the wider part of society. Alongside this, we had the continuation of Big Daddy being incorporated into the season and his connection with the disease that was spreading amongst the community, and also the supernatural element that was surrounding him. I'm going to break this video down by the main discussion points post the two episodes. The end of Mr. Whiteley. Mr. Whiteley on the surface level was a serial killer who was targeting members of the gay community. However, upon his taking down by Patrick, Gino, and Henry, we saw that his role in the show had a much wider part to play. He was specifically choosing members of the gay community to target to create this sentinel that was going to be used at the Pride Parade for a specific reason. Mr. Whiteley was specifically choosing members of the gay community to target to create this sentinel that was going to be used at the Pride Parade for a specific reason. He wanted it to be used as a way of showing the people of New York City that the people that they were coming out and celebrating on that day are the very individuals that get forgotten about the rest of the year and are treated terribly because of their sexuality. Mr. Whiteley felt that he himself had even let the community down by dismembering the individual that Henry hired him to dispose of back on Fire Island in 1979. That was the starting point for him. We found out that he did enjoy doing it, but it also showed him that people in the community deserved better, and he wanted to single-handedly show them that. By killing these people, by nothing being done about it, and by also creating the Sentinel. It later tied into Gino's piece in The Native, where he spoke of what pride was. This was Mr. Whiteley's twisted way of showing people the harsh reality of the society that they lived in, where Gino instead positioned it as a way that members of the gay community should use the anger that they have within them due to the mistreatment of them and collectively use it to stand up against people and fight against the mistreatment. Mr. Whiteley's Sentinel did make it into the paper, which in a way meant that Mr. Whiteley got what he wanted, but in a different capacity, so it was a bleak, dark ending to that arc. But we now know that the Mai Tai killings will stop. However, as Adam said, the fact that there were more people out there than what Mr. Whiteley had taken painted the harsh reality that there were more people out there killing and targeting members of the gay community. But this statement did also tie into the fact that at the time many people were contracting HIV/AIDS, an unknown disease, and were dying. So the people that were missing could also be attributed to that. Big Daddy's feature. Big Daddy featured quite a lot this time, more so than usual. We saw him lay eyes upon Hannah when she was in her apartment, further supporting the idea that the sperm donor Adam gave her HIV/AIDS when he agreed to be her donor. Big Daddy also saw Adam, Theo, Patrick, Gino, Fran with her two friends, and also Henry, showing that all of the main characters most likely have HIV/AIDS, and it could be a bleak ending of all of them sadly succumbing to what they've contracted. We saw the lesions develop and grow on Gino and Patrick and the obscurity around the lack of knowledge on what the disease was. This was especially clear with the conversation at the table where they were theorizing where it was coming from. The lack of Hannah in this scene and them saying how they hadn't heard from her made me think that she may have sadly died, especially considering how ill she was. The supernatural element of Big Daddy is because he's the face of death for those who are carriers of HIV/AIDS and are going to eventually succumb to the illness. That's why we've seen him be defeated and then spontaneously disappear, and also why we've only seen certain individuals witness him, with more and more witnessing him over time, showing that it was something that had been spreading and now more and more people can see him because they've also contracted the disease. Even without Big Daddy, Fran's tarot card reading showing the death card to everybody is a reminder of the amount of people that the HIV/AIDS epidemic claimed. Theo's fate. Right at the end of episode 8 of the show, we saw that Sam set up Theo to be abused by Henry, which was utterly sickening. However, we saw as it was happening, Big Daddy appeared behind Henry, which led him to evade, and we saw men that Theo was familiar with deer antlers on, untying him and taking him away, before the episode then faded to white. I think this was symbolizing Theo dying. Theo was ill all throughout the episode and it was only getting worse. The use of the deer antlers is what I believe is the connection around the theory of the disease coming from the deer on Fire Island way back at the start of the season, which would mean that these individuals most likely died of HIV/AIDS. The untying of him and taking him with them, followed by a blank white screen, was him stepping into the light, so to speak, and then dying. The smile of relief on his face showed that there was no pain in him anymore, and the fact that he was able to speak compared to when he was alive showed that this was something inside of his mind in his final moments. So it's going to be a sad moment for Adam when he finds him, and I imagine Sam will most likely feel extremely responsible for what had happened. Patrick and Gino. Patrick and Gino are two characters that I think are providing interesting perspectives on HIV/AIDS. Obviously, it's something that's unknown, and we're seeing two ends of the spectrum in terms of one being riddled with fear, which would be Gino, and another being laid back and not concerned, which is Patrick. I imagine this is something that was most likely present amongst people. With medical professionals not even having any knowledge, it would cause concern amongst individuals, but also the people that were trusting the medical professionals to feel calm, so it shows the polar contrast. I thought these two episodes were okay. They felt quite rushed compared to episode 5 and 6, which I thought were the best in the season so far. I also feel there was a slight disconnect between episode 7 and 8, so despite saying that I would rather have the episodes in singular installments, I'm quite glad that these two were paired together. I think the shorter runtime of around 35 minutes was something that also contributed to this. I think Big Daddy is being used in a way that has personified the disease and the spread of it well. I also liked that when Patrick quit his job, he called out the insincerity that was being masked by a sincere gesture, showing that the police force couldn't be trusted to resolve the crimes that involved gay individuals. The world has been painted out well, and despite the supernatural element, it feels like a genuine, real environment. I'm intrigued to see the season finale next week because it still feels like there's a lot of the story to tell about the world that we're in. However, with the episode titles containing 1981 and 1987, I feel we're going to see the present day and also the future, which I think will be a haunting contrast of the world 6 years later, where most of the characters that we've come to see will most likely not be in it anymore. So, there you have it. American Horror Story New York City Season 11 Episodes 7 and 8, Ending Explained. If you want to see more videos such as Endings Explained, theories and predictions and character breakdowns, then click on the I button. Or alternatively, you can head over to my channel where you'll find them all. If you'd like to give me a show or movie that you'd like me to review, then head over to my Twitter, @brainpilot_, and tweet me what show or movie you'd like me to review next. And finally, if you'd like to see what I rate the latest movies that don't quite make the cut to getting a dedicated video, then head over to my Letterboxd profile. It's where I rate the latest releases in real time. What did you think of these two episodes? Leave a comment down below. And don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.